Hi, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're doing awesome and having a great day. Uh, I am not as chipper as normal because I don't think this is going to be very good news today. So let us know where you are, where you're coming from. I am in rainy, cloudy South Florida. So I also have a little bit of a headache, but I feel like that's because I've been really a little bit sad about this today. So, hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're coming from. Let me know what you think. We're going to start with some coverage now in just a moment. And we're going to talk about some of the latest news. And so there is a press conference starting at the top of the hour. Let me go ahead and start sharing. Okay, so today, a couple of things happened, big things happened in the search. This is really the biggest one. So a ROV, a remote, how many carbons do? The remotely operated vehicle went down today. A couple of them actually went down today to search the area by the Titanic where the submersible would be. And I guess here are some photos here. It says it's an undated photo, so maybe that's not from Pelagic Research Services. They're the ones who allegedly found, according to CNN, found the debris field, as it's called. And actually, let me go back a second and say that the Coast Guard posted about 2 hours ago, when they confirmed the time of this press conference. Let me present a different one. Actually, I think what I'll do is, should I just do the whole, I think I should just do the whole window. There we go. That way you guys see everything I'm seeing here. Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, so this is on Twitter, and they actually said for the breaking news to go to their Twitter. This is the U.S. Coast Guards, the ones who's kind of like the command center here for on the U.S. side. And they said a debris field was discovered within the search area by an ROV near the Titanic. Experts within the Unified Command are evaluating the information. And so they had a media advisory, and the media advisory says that Rear Admiral John Mauger and Captain Jamie Frederick, who we've heard in the last couple of press conferences, press briefings, says that they're going to discuss the findings from the Horizon Arctic's remotely operated vehicle. So maybe there were two, or maybe they're related. But in any case, there were a couple of ROVs down there anyways. So that is what's happening now. They're going to talk about what they found on the sea floor. So let me get out of this and continue here. Wellum said, now that the search team has honed in on a debris field, the ROV will gather more video and try to determine whether the field is new debris related to the sub or part of the Titanic wreck itself. An expert says that debris fields aren't uncommon near the Titanic, but officials may have seen something that stood out. The U.S. Coast Guard will go through a verification process to determine whether a debris field found in the search area for the missing Titanic submersible is related to the sub. The Coast Guard announced Thursday that the debris field was found using a remotely operated vehicle. Okay, we already know this. Kramer would not be surprised to find a debris field near the wreck of the Titanic. I would have to see what it actually is, adding that he's unsure if the search vehicle transmits video. Bash asked Kramer whether he believes it means anything that the U.S. Coast Guard, which is also clearly aware of the debris types typically found on the ocean floor, made a point to share the news about the field. It could tell me that somebody saw something within the debris that they have, I guess, on camera or on sonar, that lets them assume that it might not be from the Titanic, that it might be from the stricken vessel. I'm sure they're now going through a verification process to see if it actually associated with the stricken sub. And that's exactly what I think. And I feel like they would not specify that they had seen a debris field and move and then have a press conference right after that if it wasn't something very important. Like if it wasn't something that was clearly an omen to what was happening. Now, the good news, if there is such a thing, if that is them, if the vessel was broken apart, if it imploded, and that is debris from the vessel, that means that they would have died instantly. They wouldn't have suffered. They might not have even had time to think or know that that happened. And also, I've been feeling this for a couple of days, even though I've been holding out hope. But the fact that the communication system went down as well, like there was they didn't have any backups. None of the backups were deployed, to me made it feel like it did implode, that the vessel did implode. And so it's definitely tragic. And I'm very okay, let's see what else we have here. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. On Yahoo News, they are quoting a Sky News article, and it says here, a rescue expert has told Sky News the debris found in the search for the Titan submersible was a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. David Mearns is friends with two of the passengers on board Titan. He's friends with British billionaire Hamish Harding and the French sub-pilot PH, and told the broadcaster he is part of a WhatsApp group involving the Explorers Club. And the Explorers Club is a group that includes Hamish. I'm pretty sure PH is in there. And the Explorers Club has a lot of these adventure seekers that have gone into space, gone to the Mariana Trench, and other pilots and such. And so they're kind of like all in the know. And he said that the president of the club, who is directly connected to the ships on the site, said to the group it was a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. Again, this is an unconventional submarine. That rear cover is the pointy end of it, and the landing frame is the little frame that it seems to sit on. He said this confirms that it is the submersible. It means the hull hasn't been found yet, but two very important parts of the whole system have been discovered, and that would not be found unless it's fragmented, which is interesting. It says Mearns' claims are yet to be independently verified. And so those are two parts of it, right? So it's like if they wouldn't have been found if it was fragmented, because there were some reports that some of the submersible allows parts to come off. so that it can rise to the surface if it's in trouble or in case of emergency. And so in this Sky News article, it's saying that the hull, even though the hull hasn't been found, I guess that's the body of it, two very important parts of the whole system have been discovered, and that would not be found unless it's fragmented. Now, this is, as of right now, because it hasn't been independently verified, this is just a rumor, but it's coming from one of the people from the Explorers Club who I have been following on Twitter. Let me see if I can find him. I've been following him on Twitter, and he said that he has been in close contact with all of the different organizations, all the different search crews that are involved. And so he would know, I guess. So let me know if you're here live, where you're coming from, and say hello. Okay. So we're just waiting for, while we do that, I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing something else so that we can get to the live that's happening today. Actually, I'm just going to go back to this. Let's see if there's any updates, any new updates. Okay, so here, as of 2 minutes ago, CNN is saying debris found on an ocean floor has been assessed to be from the external body of the Titan sub. The debris discovered within the search area of the missing Titanic submersible has been assessed to be from the external body of the sun, according to a memo reviewed by CNN. The search for the crew capsule of the Titan vessel continues, the memo says. The debris was located on the ocean floor, roughly 500 meters, about a third of a mile, off of the bow of the Titanic, and it was found around 8:55 a.m. Eastern Time. It was discovered by a remotely operated vehicle that was searching the seafloor, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, and the discovery came at an urgent time for the search and rescue efforts. Experts say the sub and its 5 passengers would be reaching the limit of the sub's roughly 96 hours of life support, having gone missing Sunday morning. But if they lost all comms an hour and 45 minutes in, then it's very possible that the vessel imploded and they died instantly right at that moment, which several experts have said was highly likely, considering that the comms ended, the none of the emergency backup systems were deployed. They didn't rise up to the surface in the case of emergency. So yes, it would make sense that it imploded, which means that it basically, like, in a sense, like blows up. But what happens is that because of all the pressure, it would actually not blow up, it would actually implode. So explode is go out, implode as it goes in essence, tearing the ship apart or the vessel apart. And because of the pressure, they would die instantly because there's just no way to survive that. So let me go ahead. I'm going to find the press conference. It's definitely a somber day. I am very sad. And, I was holding out hope that they would be found, but it's, again, not that I wish for anyone to die, but at the very least, if they were going to die anyway, at least they died. If it imploded, in fact imploded, that it would have been instant, it would have been painless. They might not even have known, they might not have even had time to think about it. It would have happened so instantaneously that they didn't even have necessarily even time to worry or wonder. Okay. I'm going to go on. Let's pull up. Okay, so Ocean Gate has said that it believes individuals on the missing sub have sadly been lost. Ocean Gate said Thursday that it believes the passengers of the Titanic bound submersible have sadly been lost, according to a statement from the company. Let's see if we can find. Okay, so Ocean Gate has not responded on Twitter. So they must have just given that statement out to the public, to the media. All right, so we're just waiting for the top of the hour for the press conference to start. And pulling up here. Okay. So, meantime, the commander did say yesterday that before telling us, the public, what they think happened or what they confirmed happened, they would, of course, be telling the family members. So, what I think happened is that they got this information from the ROV. There were two parts of the ship, of the vessel, that would confirm that if those fragments were there, that the vessel had imploded. And then they told the family members that that was the likelihood of what was happening, and then continued to search and do additional search to see if they can find anything else, because they probably would have told the family before even confirming a press conference. That's so. As I used to be a media trainer and PR person, and so yeah, you always want to make sure you get all the details you can to the appropriate people before, of course, you're sharing it with the public. Let's see if there's anything else before we wait. And this morning I was planning on doing a little vigil, memorial, and I held off because there were a lot of reports that were giving a lot of hope that if they were still alive in the submersible, that they might still have air, even though a part of me felt like it probably imploded just because of the whole communication system down and all the other factors that we didn't see. So I held off, but I felt in my heart that they were no longer alive, sadly, which is probably why I've been feeling so bad today. I have a huge headache, and it makes me very, very sad to have to cover this. So in the Yahoo News, it says Ocean Gate says it believes all 5 passengers are dead. So Ocean Gate has released a statement saying it believes all occupants of. Relatives of Titanic dead criticize dark tourism. Relatives of those who died when the Titanic sank have questioned the moral aspect of expedition tours to the wreckage. John Locascio's uncles, Albert and Sebastiano Peracchio, were 17 and 20 when they died in the 1912 maritime tragedy. He told CNN, I compare it to looking inside a grave. I mean, people died there tragically, very tragically. Why make it a place for people to go see? Dead bodies are there, or what's left of them. Ocean Gate's co owner fears instantaneous implosion. Fears The co-founder of OceanGate, the company that owns and operates the Titan Submersible, has said he fears the craft succumb to an instantaneous implosion. Guillermo Solane was speaking shortly after the U.S. Coast Guard announced that a debris field had been located in the search area near to the Titanic wreck. He told the BBC, what I do know is regardless of the sub, when you're operating at depth, the pressure is so great on any sub that if there is a failure, it would be an instantaneous implosion, which I've said as well. If that's what happened, that's what would have happened 4 days ago. Pilot's daughter speaks of hope. The daughter of French oceanographer PH, one of 5 people inside the missing submersible, said earlier today that she held hope they will be rescued, but is comforted by the knowledge that he is in the place he loved most. Rescue expert reveals tragic debris news. A rescue expert has said the debris covering discovered during the search for Titan is its landing frame and cover. Okay, we've already actually read this. Okay, let's check the press conference. Okay, we're still on holds. Should start right at the top of the hour. See if Ocean Gate is on Facebook. I don't know where else they would have. They didn't talk on Twitter. Then where would they have released a statement? Let's see. Oh, here it is. Here's a statement. Let me share it. Oh, you see it. Okay, great. Statement from Ocean Gate Inc. We now believe that our CEO, Stockton Rush, Shahzada Dawood and his son, Suleiman Dawood, Hamish Harding, and Paul-Henri Nargelet have sadly been lost. These men were true explorers who shared a distinct spirit of adventure and a deep passion for exploring and protecting the world's oceans. Our hearts are with these 5 souls and every member of their families during this tragic time. We grieve the loss of life and joy they brought to everyone they knew. This is an extremely sad time for our dedicated employees who are exhausted and grieving deeply over this loss. The entire OceanGate family is deeply grateful for the countless men and women from multiple organizations, of this international community who expedited wide-ranging resources and have worked so very hard on this mission. We appreciate their commitment to finding these 5 explorers and their days and nights of tireless work in support of our crew and their families. This is a very sad time for the entire explorer community and for each of the family members of those lost at sea. We respectfully ask that the privacy of these families be respected during this most painful time. So on top of that, hi Lexi. So on top of that, his wife is the communications director for Ocean Gate. So she might have even been on the mothership on the Polar Prince when they deployed, or when they went down, when the original ship went down. And she's probably, or she might be on the ship during the search efforts. Wow. Very, very, very sad. Let me take a look and see. Okay. So the press conference is still hasn't started yet. It should start in 2 minutes. But yes, this has been very holding out hope, of course, always holding out hope. But now that we know, if there's any consolation, is that they probably did not feel any pain. It happened very quickly, maybe even without them knowing. And so wouldn't even have been a moment for them to worry about what was happening. I don't know if that's a consolation, but you never want anybody to, at least never want anybody to feel pain. Okay, so I'm going to pull up, I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to start sharing the nope, that's not what I wanted to share. Stop sharing, start sharing. Yes, thanks, Lexi, for that. If there's any solace, I don't think you pay that amount of money to do something you're passionate about and don't want to do. Right. With maybe the exception of the son, I'm not sure how passionate he would have been. It might have just been a cool thing to do, but everyone else for sure was passionate about adventure. Hamish had been to depths 3 times deeper and had set world records. So he's definitely, and then of course the CEO is super passionate about it. The other two, well, the other one, PH, was an explorer. He'd been down to the Titanic multiple times. And I'm not sure about the other, the billionaire, the Pakistani billionaire, but he was part of a organization that was looking for information on extraterrestrial life, on UFOs. So probably he was into this stuff too, if I had to guess. So they died knowing that they were exploring, that they were going into this uncharted territory, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, I do feel sorry the most for the kid. But my biggest worry, if they had survived and they were in this little capsule for days, is how the father would be feeling with them being trapped. That was my biggest worry was how that relationship, how horrible the father would feel and guilty. So if this happened quickly, then at least nobody felt
Looking for a what?
and
I got the one you want.
right. I don't know why this. I'm gonna look up and see if I can find another. Let's see if there's another press conference. Oh,
Search operation has been robust and immensely appreciated. We are grateful for the rapid mobilization of experts on the undersea search and rescue, and we thank all of the agencies and personnel for their role in the response. We're also incredibly grateful for the full spectrum of international assistance that's been provided. The ROVs will remain on scene and continue to gather information. Again, our most heartfelt condolences go out to the loved ones of the crew. We'll now take questions.
John, what other debris have you found? John, what other debris have you found?
Talk about delay in deploying the vessel this week, what impact that had on the recovery?
This was a incredibly complex case, and we're still working to develop the details for the timeline involved with this casualty and the response. And so we'll provide that information.
James Matthews from Sky News. John, what other debris have you found? And have you found any trace of those who were?
So this is an incredibly complex operating environment on the seafloor, over 2 miles beneath the surface. And so the remote operating vehicle has been searching, and it is highly capable. And we've been able to classify parts of the pressure chamber for the Titan submersible. Let me refer to one of my undersea experts here, Mr. Paul Hankin, to talk about the nature of some of the debris.
Thank you, Admiral. So essentially, we found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event. Shortly thereafter, we found a second smaller debris field. Within that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel. We continue to map the debris field, and as the Admiral said, we will do the best we can to fully map out what's down there.
It's a very difficult question to ask, but it would be an important one for the families, of course. What are the prospects of recovering the bodies of the missing?
So the questions was related. I'm restating the question from the standpoint of sometimes it's hard to hear the question here. What are the prospects for recovering crew members? And so this is a incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Admiral Costello at NBC News. Is there any suggestion? Sorry, any suggestion at all that the that the sub itself collided with the wreckage of Titanic, or that instead it might have imploded above the wreckage and then rained down nearby?
So the question was, is there any question as to whether or not the sub collided with the Titanic or whether it imploded above and debris field created from that? So the location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic. I have an expert here that is familiar with that area and can talk about the debris field and what the debris field indicates in terms of where the casualty may have occurred.
Rear Admiral, really quickly, can you tell me when that massive fleet will be called back?
The expert voice is coming up to answer the question.
Thank you, Admiral. So the question is, where does the wreck lie in relation to the Titanic? I didn't hear the Admiral's answer. I think 1,600 feet. Is that correct, Admiral?
Yep, you got it.
So that's off the bow of Titanic. It's in an area where there is not any debris of Titanic. It is a smooth bottom. There, to my knowledge and anything I've seen, there's no Titanic wreckage in that area. And again, 200 plus meters from the bow, and consistent with the location of last communication for an implosion in the water column. And the size of the debris field is consistent with that implosion in the water column.
Thanks.
If I can ask a question, in terms of the timing here, you say that this was a catastrophic implosion. I know it's early on, but is it your estimation that this happened right at the moment when they lost contact, an hour and 45 minutes after the descent?
So the question was about the timing of the catastrophic implosion. Right now, it is too early to tell with that. We know that as we've been prosecuting this search over the course of the last 72 hours and beyond, that we've had sonar buoys in the water nearly continuously and have not detected any catastrophic events when those sonar buoys have been in the water. So,
Can you describe what happens from here to in the next days and weeks in terms of finding any more debris? What happens from here?
so we will. The question was, what happens from here? What's the next phase? And so right now, again, our thoughts are with the families and making sure that they have an understanding as best as we can provide of what happened and begin to find some closure. In terms of the large process, we're going to continue to investigate the site of the debris field. And then I know that there's also a lot of questions about how, why, and when did this happen. And so, those are questions that we will collect as much information as we can on now, while the governments are meeting and discussing, what an investigation of this nature of a casualty might look like. This is something that happened. I'll just remind everybody, this is something that happened in a remote portion of the ocean with people from several different countries around the world, and so it is a complex case to work through. But I'm confident that those questions will begin to get answered. The question was there any suggestion that time factors may have played a role or a consideration in the casualty here? And so the debris field is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. Again, while we were prosecuting the search, we had listening devices in the water throughout, and did not hear any signs of catastrophic failure from those. And so we're going to continue to investigate, or we're going to continue to document the information there and understand, based on all the information we have, the timeline. So the question was, what are the resources required for the investigation, and which ships will be pulling out and staying in? And so it's too early for me to talk about an investigation. That's a decision that's going to be taken outside of the search and efforts that I was leading. But we do have a number of vessels. We have 9 vessels on the scene right now. We had medical personnel on scene. We had other technicians on scene. And so we will begin to demobilize personnel and vessels from the scene over the course of the next 24 hours. But we're going to continue remote operations on the seafloor. And I don't have a timeline for when we would intend to stop remote operations on the seafloor at this point.
Admiral, as a result of this, do you think there should be changes in the way these are safety rated or inspected so that this won't happen again?
Yeah, the question was essentially about, do you think that there should be changes in safety ratings or inspection for these standards? I know that there's a lot of questions about why, how, when this happened, and the members of the Unified Command, have those questions too, as professionals and experts that work in this environment. And this is an incredibly difficult and dangerous environment to work in out there. But those questions about the regulations that apply and the standards, that's going to be, I'm sure, focus of future review. Right now, we're focused on documenting the scene and continuing the subfloor.
I know we don't know the timing of things. I know we don't know the timing here. We don't know the timing here, but there was the banging noises yesterday that redirected and redeployed the ROVs to this area. Is there anything conclusive in those noises, and did that redirection and then finding this debris field today all help?
So throughout the search efforts, we reacted to the information that we had available to us. And while we continue to send it off for deeper analysis, again, really complex operating environment for us to work in. Let me check with the experts, but there doesn't appear to be any connection between the noises and the location on the seafloor. Again, this was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
This will be the last question.
Admiral, just ask you about your comment regarding the families.
That dropped into the ocean today arrived early this morning. It seems that Swiftly was able to find the refill. Talk about the speed of that, and also were all of the assets involved moved as swiftly as possible to the area. Was any help turned away, as some lawmakers have said?
This was a incredibly complex operation, and we were able to mobilize an immense amount of gear to the site in just a really remarkable amount of time, given the fact that we started without any sort of vessel response plan for this or any sort of pre-stage resources. And so the equipment that was brought on site this morning that we were using was a pelagic ROV capable of operating at 6,000 meters, cameras, sonar, other articulating arms and resources on it. And we had to transport it here through C-17 aircraft. This is 2 aircraft that it took to get this up here. And so we've really had the right gear on site and worked as swiftly as possible to bring all of the capabilities that we had to bear to this search and rescue effort. And it was just a huge international and interagency effort to make this happen. So I'm really grateful for all of the responders that came out to support this and really search for the vessel. It is a difficult day for all of us. And it's especially difficult for the families, and our thoughts are with the families today. But this was an immense support, and we had the right gear on the bottom to find it. So thank you.
Will you attempt to recover the bodies, can we ask you? The victims, will they be recovered?
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this afternoon. There are no future planned press conferences. Updates will be shared to the USCG Northeast Twitter page, and our staff will be available to take down any questions following this.
Can you
Thank
spell and give us the names of the 2 gentlemen who spoke?
I can get that back to you afterwards.
She
just so I
doesn't
can confirm. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. Woo.
Getting up or writing it?
Okay, let me pull that up because I was making a lot of background noise or a lot of feedback. Wow. Okay, so right. I mean, like, you go to space, there shouldn't be any like messing around as far as safety. You go underwater, you shouldn't be messing around, right? So it's great that there's innovation. Do it at 100 feet underwater off of the coast somewhere. Don't do it in literally the most remote location, or not the most, but a very fairly remote location. One of the deepest locations in that area, when so many other things actually, and I've read reports that actually diving or being around wrecks is actually more dangerous because of the potential for things like what happened to the other reporter, where they got caught in a propeller, could happen. And down at that site, there is a current. And so the little submersible could get caught in a current and moving around, so. Right. It makes me frustrated. The CEO was on board. He even cites the early space missions in his rationale for skirting the rules and regulations. Lexi, you can be as loud and noisy as you'd like. It's funny. I don't know what I feel like maybe this didn't get broadcast. There wasn't a notification, which has happened before. Because a couple of days ago, there were 100 people came through the live. And today it's been like 5 people. So I'm a little confused about that, but oh well. This is all good. All right. So let me just, before we move on, and I'm just want to read these last few little bits here because they did a really good job of kind of recapping. So the crews located 5 major pieces of debris that helped identify the remains of the Titan. And that was found in a large debris field, which had an end bell of the pressure hull. And I imagine the pressure hull is the actual, like the main cabin. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event, is when there are fragments of the vessel. Crews found a second, smaller debris field within the first, where the other end of the pressure hull was located. We continue to map the debris field, and as the Admiral said, we will do the best we can to fully map out what's down there. Now, when one of the experts came up, he said that it was located about 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic, and that it was consistent with an implosion in the water column, which when I hear that, I think the water column as they're coming down, as it was coming down, that it imploded while it was descending. And so before it even reached the location of the Titanic, which would make sense because again, pressure increases the deeper you go. And so maybe there was a little bit of a breach in the hull, and as they got deeper and deeper and deeper, more and more and more pressure, and maybe because it was about an hour and 45 minutes into their descent. And so yeah, it makes sense. And then where does that go? If it imploded and it broke apart and then it just fell, but it wasn't next to the Titanic, which I think that if it would have imploded or something would have happened next to the Titanic, it probably would have been a little bit closer. I mean, 1,600 feet is close, but it could have been closer. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, there was a lot of safety concerns. We're all thinking that it has to do with the oxygen. Meanwhile, it imploded on the descent down. The thing is that nobody really wanted to play up on that because that's that means that they would have been dead. And so everyone wanted to hold out hope that they were still alive. Coast Guard says officials are still working through the timeline of the sub's failure. And then it's an incredibly complex operating environment on the seafloor. So it was an incredibly complex operating environment. It was an incredibly complex search. It was an incredibly complex mission. That was the operative word from their comms team. And again, debris was consistent with catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. The debris found on the seafloor was consistent with catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. The remotely operated vehicle found the tail cone of the Titan on the sea floor about 1,600 feet away from the bow of the Titanic and other debris nearby. The debris was analyzed by experts, he said, and the families of the passengers were notified. I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time. And there's 2 more updates. Let's see what they say here. Okay, consistent with catastrophic implosion. We got it. Search for bodies will continue, but prospects unclear given challenging environment. I find it probably not likely that that's going to happen, especially since they've been down there since Sunday. This is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor, the official told reporters during a news briefing Thursday. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time. So then let me just do one last thing is let me go to the Yahoo News. Demobilization? Oh, demobilization. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. Let me change here. And present. So this is Yahoo News, which aggregates news from all different places. And so they're kind of pulling together Okay, complex operating environment. Okay, we've read about this. Timing of implosion. Teams believe it is too early to tell what time the implosion took place, with sonar buoys not detecting any kind of implosion after the search began, suggesting it likely occurred prior to search teams entering the area. That's actually a good point, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it imploded right when the communications went down. It could have imploded afterward. It just seems most likely that it would have imploded during the descent. Demobilization will begin in the next 24 hours. So the teams will continue remote operations on the seafloor, but will begin to demobilize the 9 assembled vessels in the next 24 hours. Banging noises. Teams were led to a search area by banging noises, but Rear Admiral John Mauger said at this time that there doesn't appear to be any connection between the noises and the location on the seafloor, which they had also said yesterday that there wasn't any connection. There had not been a connection found. Okay, so I think that is the latest here. Let me just pull up CNN one more time and see if there's any new news that vessels and medical personnel at search site to be demobilized in the next 24 hours. Yeah. They had a hyperbaric chamber. They had medical personnel. They had search crews. Now, if they had had some type of an ROV or maybe another vessel that could go down that far to search, maybe they could have found them within the first 24 hours. You shouldn't have your search and recovery shouldn't be especially for a tourist event, right? A tourist attraction. Well, the Titanic is not a tourist attraction, but they were treating this like a tourist attraction. If you're going to have a tourist attraction of that magnitude, then you should have some other contingencies in place. Okay, so I think that's it for this. Let me stop sharing. And wait. So the banging was nothing to do with it. Yes. Yesterday in the press conference, he had also said that there was no conclusive evidence to show that the banging was related to the vessel. So yeah, I mean, incredibly sad outcome. I've been thinking about this case like morning, noon, night in my sleep. And obviously we knew there was going to be some results today. Either search and rescue was going to be changed to search and recovery, or what happened is that we found out that they had in fact imploded in the water before the search had ever begun. There should have been a life support system in, because even if they located them, it would be hours to extract. Right. It appears like there wasn't any type of like a beacon on the vessel. I mean, actually that would have made so much sense, right? Like if you have some type of a beacon, then if they imploded, they would have been able to find it. If they were on the surface, they would have been able to find it. If they were stranded somewhere in the middle of wherever, they would have been able to find it. I mean, just so many like kind of, they seem like very basic things didn't seem to be on this vessel. It wasn't even tethered. I mean, if nothing else, tether the darn thing And then at least you have, if that breaks, then at least you know, okay, like they could have jumped, they could have done something. If they knew that the tether broke, okay, now you have something else, something off to go off of. But there was also a report or a video that he made where he was being interviewed, and he said that he didn't have comms in his in the vessel, because he thought that it was distracted. By comms, I mean voice comms. So he was doing everything by text message. So if there had been an issue, if there had been a problem, and let's say it did implode, maybe they could have heard something. The other thing is, was there not a camera in the ship, in the vessel? There's a lot of things that just don't make sense. GPS does not work that deep. Yes. But then doesn't GPS work off of satellite, and they're using satellite internet? So I don't know. There's just some things that don't add up. This is not my area of expertise. So yeah, there are some really kind of like dumb things that they didn't end up doing that I'm just not sure why they didn't do, like have a video. It doesn't sound like, I mean, if they had a video camera in there, then I think they could have said, oh, video, we were looking at them, everything seemed fine, and all of a sudden that went off. We never heard that. All we heard was comms were down. And from my understanding, comms were texting. Yes, he felt that like kind of hearing from mothership would distract from the experience. I just saw an interview of him today, and so I hadn't seen that before. Yeah, there's a lot of things that it sounds like he was skimping out of. Right. So imagine there was an emergency and you have 10 seconds to act, let's say. Are you going to text your mothership, or are you going to try to do something, right? If there had been audio comms or video comms, then at least they could have heard or picked up on what was happening. Well, you know what? The other thing is, and I was wondering, is there a black box in there? Probably not, because I doubt it that they would have put a black box. But if there was a black box in there, then at least they could hear what was going on, right? Like, you know what? You know what I would have done? I would have had at least a one-way communication. So maybe they can't hear them, but maybe at least mothership can hear what's going on in the ship. If he was that felt like the audio would be distraction. The other thing is, like, you just have like a little Bluetooth set or whatever, and only you hear the mothership. Right. Exactly. At least they could see what was happening. So, or hear what was happening. But it's just, yeah. Because frankly, if there was video in there and there was an implosion happening, yes, it would take out the system, but maybe there would be a split second where you could see something, right? Even if it's water, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. But there could maybe be a split second where you could see something. The mothership. That's the way they call it. They call it the mothership. I'm not that witty to do it to come up with that name on my own. But yeah, I love it. I like calling it the mothership too. All right. So I'll probably do some type of like a little memorial video later. I plan to do it this morning, but there was a lot of hope this morning. I woke up and there were a bunch of articles saying that we shouldn't discount the amount of oxygen. There might be able to extend that oxygen. There was the co-founder, the same person who just wrote that they thought that everybody had died, wrote a few hours ago that they could have extended the life of the oxygen. And other people were saying that as well. So I woke up this morning incredibly hopeful that something, a different outcome would happen. But I think that either way, it's good to know that that they're found, right? Because at least there are answers. I know that in the search process, I'm not sure, Lexi, if you followed Adventures with Purpose and Doug Bishop and those guys. There are search teams in the US that go out and find people, usually in bodies of water. And it can be incredibly, of course, sad and tragic. At the same time, the missing, if they don't know what caused them to go missing, that is incredibly, that's even worse. That's you, it's almost like you grieve twice. What do you mean by I'm friends with T? Right, having that closure, it's impactful for decades. Yeah. Oh, oh no, I'm not sure what you mean by T. Oh, AWP. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay, good. Oh, great. Okay, excellent. So obviously, I'm covering that case with from a more victim focused standpoint. So good. Awesome. Look, everyone is entitled to their opinions. I try not to shame people for their opinions, but I get a lot of haters on my channel whenever I do a video. And, you know, it can be very, it can get bad. Like I say, let's keep it empowering, right? You know, you can disagree with me. You disagree with me? Beautiful. I learn from people who disagree with me. But if you're going to come and call me names or call the people in my channel, other commenters names, and it's not helping, you know, you're just insulting or bullying or all that. We don't need that, right? There is no place for that in the true crime community, and unfortunately it's rampant. Oh, good. Yay. Right. I was like, I mentioned Doug. I mentioned the other guy. I was like, who is this person? Okay. Got it. Got it. No. No problem. Absolutely. Great. You can be all of that, and that's all good. All right. So I think, you know what? When that case comes supposedly on July 10th, I'll probably do a live right after that. So if you're welcome to join me on that, and we'll see if it goes through, because that's the big beef that I've had with that case, is that there's like, I don't know, maybe half of those scheduled court hearings were rescheduled and she wasn't made aware. So a lot of issues with that case. I should probably do a video just on that. I want to try to stay, you know, whenever possible on the positive side, or empowering, hopeful, whatever, but there was just a lot of mess that's happened in that case. Right. The court system is just so reliable and speedy. Exactly. All right. Well, this is why we do the work that we do, is because we want to be a voice for the voiceless, right? In the case of these 5 missing, you know, we want to be whatever voice we can for them. And for survivors of DV and SA, it's it's important that, you know, that we be a voice for them, because if anything that we can do to support them, any way that we can make the world a better place by just raising awareness, educating people, advocating, bringing justice, that's why we do what we do. So, right. Bones. We've got bones to pick. All right, beautiful. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, you know what? We'll just take a moment of silence for the 5 now sadly tragic victims of the Titan Stockton rush. Oh shoot, I forgot the names now, but the 5, we'll just hold them all in our thoughts, our prayers, and their families and loved ones and the world, because they were in their own way, you know, being light and innovative in the world as well. So, all right, everyone. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day. There's so much darkness. Yes, exactly. Let's be that guiding light. Let's be the voice for the voiceless and help and support however we can. All right, everyone. We'll have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll maybe we'll see. There's not a planned press conference, but maybe I'll do an update once we know a little bit more, and do an update in the next couple of days. Mwah. Bye. Have a great rest of your day. Remember to stay safe, stay thriving, keep it empowering, and always, 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 always follow your intuition. Will not be wrongly guided if you stick to your own guidance and intuition. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.